Have you ever wondered why stress seems to control your life, even when you try your best to avoid it? It sneaks in through overthinking, unrealistic expectations, and the fear of things not going your way. But what if I told you that the moment you shift your mindset, stress loses its grip? It's like a locked door. You push, you shove, you panic. But the harder you try, the more stuck it seems. Then, in a moment of clarity, you realize the key was in your pocket the whole time. Stress works the same way. The more you fight it, the more it controls you. Or think of an archer. If he tenses too much, his aim wavers, his shot falters. But the one who steadies his breath, who loosens his grip just enough, always hits the mark. That's the secret. Stress isn't something to battle, it's something to master. Because while others let stress dictate their emotions, you have a choice to resist, to react, or to rise above it. And when you choose wisdom over worry, that's when everything changes. When you stop fighting stress and start managing it, you take your power back. So how do you regain control without escaping, without suppressing, without forcing peace? With these 8 Stoic mind tricks, simple, powerful, and instantly effective, they'll show you how to silence overthinking, detach from negativity, and face life's challenges with unshakable calm. And the last one, that will change everything. Let's get started. Number 1. Focus only on what you can control. Let's talk about one of the most powerful ways to reduce stress: shifting your focus to what you can actually control. It sounds simple, but most of us waste an incredible amount of time and energy worrying about things that are completely out of our hands. The traffic that made you late, out of your control. The way someone else reacts to you, not yours to manage. The economy, the weather, other people's opinions, none of these are within your power. And yet, we let these things dictate our mood, steal our peace, and increase our stress. Here's the truth. Worrying about things beyond your control is like trying to stop the ocean waves with your hands. It's exhausting and pointless. But when you shift your attention to what is within your control, your actions, your mindset, your response to challenges, you regain your sense of power. You stop feeling like life is happening to you, and instead you realize that you have a choice in how you handle whatever comes your way. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about that for a second. True strength isn't about controlling everything around you. It's about controlling your reaction to it. The more you focus on your own thoughts, choices, and behaviors, the less external chaos can shake you. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, let's call him Jake, used to stress out over everything. If his boss was in a bad mood, his whole day was ruined. If someone cut him off in traffic, he carried that frustration with him for hours. But one day, Jake came across a simple exercise. He wrote down everything that was stressing him out and divided it into 2 categories: things he could control and things he couldn't. The results were eye-opening. He realized that most of his stress came from things he had zero control over. So he made a decision. From that moment on, he would only focus on solutions, not worries. Instead of stressing about his boss's mood, he focused on doing his job well. Instead of getting angry in traffic, he used that time to listen to audiobooks. And guess what? His stress levels dropped immediately. So how do you apply this in your life? First, Pause whenever you feel overwhelmed and ask yourself, can I control this? If the answer is no, let it go. Second, shift your energy to what you can do. Instead of worrying, take action in areas where you have influence. And third, remind yourself that real peace comes from within. The world will always be unpredictable, but your response to it doesn't have to be. At the end of the day, stress is often a sign that you're trying to control the uncontrollable. The moment you let go of what's beyond your reach and focus on what's within your power, you'll feel lighter, calmer, and more in control of your life. And that's the kind of strength no one can take away from you. Number 2, practice negative visualization. Let's talk about one of the most powerful Stoic techniques for instantly reducing stress, negative visualization. At first, this might sound counterintuitive. Why would you imagine bad things happening? Doesn't that just create more anxiety? Actually, it does the opposite. When you mentally prepare for challenges before they happen, you strip them of their power over you. Instead of being blindsided by difficulties, you face them with calmness and control. Here's the truth. Most stress comes from the fear of the unknown. We worry about losing a job, failing at something important, or dealing with unexpected hardships. But when you practice negative visualization, you confront those fears before they happen. You ask yourself, what's the worst that could realistically happen? How would I handle it? And once you mentally walk through those scenarios, they lose their ability to overwhelm you. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca said, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." In other words, if you've already imagined and prepared for a challenge, it can't control you. Instead of reacting with panic, you respond with clarity. Instead of stress, you feel ready. Let me share a quick story. A woman I know, let's call her Anna, used to struggle with severe anxiety before big presentations at work. She would lose sleep, overthink every possible mistake, and get paralyzed by fear. Then she discovered negative visualization. Instead of avoiding her fears, she faced them head-on. The night before a presentation, she would sit down and imagine everything going wrong, forgetting her words, stumbling over a slide, or getting tough questions. But instead of stopping there, she took it a step further. She visualized herself handling it. She pictured staying calm, recovering smoothly, and staying in control. And guess what? The next time she gave a presentation, she was more confident than ever. She had already faced her worst fears in her mind, so nothing could truly shake her. So how can you apply this instantly to reduce stress? First, the next time you feel anxious about something, pause and visualize the worst-case scenario, not in a panicked way, but in a calm, logical way. Second, mentally walk through how you would handle it. Remind yourself that no matter what happens, you'll adapt. And finally, realize that you've already survived past challenges. This one will be no different. At the end of the day, stress thrives on uncertainty. But when you prepare for the worst, you take away its power. Face your fears before they happen, and you'll meet them with strength instead of stress. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 3, detach from outcomes. Let's talk about one of the biggest sources of stress, being too attached to results. We set goals, put in effort, and then stress over whether things will go the way we want. Will I get that job? Will my project succeed? Will people approve of what I'm doing? The truth is, the more you cling to an outcome, the more stress you create. But when you shift your focus to your effort rather than the result, you instantly regain control and reduce stress. Here's the truth. Expectations create pressure. When you expect things to go a certain way, you put yourself in a mental trap. If things go well, you're happy. If they don't, you feel frustrated, disappointed, or even anxious. But when you detach from the outcome and focus only on doing your best, you free yourself from that emotional roller coaster. You stop worrying about the results and start trusting the process. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus said, "Do what you must, and let happen what may." Think about that. Your job is not to control every outcome, it's to control your actions. Whether or not something succeeds is often out of your hands, but how much effort you put in, how you respond to challenges, that's 100% up to you. The moment you accept this, stress loses its grip on you. Let me share a quick story. A man I know, let's call him Ryan, used to stress over every deal in his business. If a deal went through, he felt on top of the world. If it didn't, he would spiral into frustration, questioning every move he made. One day, he came across this Stoic principle: focus on effort, not outcomes. So he made a decision. He would put in his best work, but after that, he would let go. He stopped obsessing over results, stopped overthinking what might happen, and instead, he measured his success by his effort. And guess what? His stress levels dropped instantly. He realized that as long as he did his part, whatever happened afterward was beyond his control. So how can you apply this right now? First, recognize when you're stressing about an outcome. Ask yourself, am I focused on what I can control, or am I trying to control something that isn't mine to decide? Second, shift your mindset. Tell yourself, my job is to give my best effort. The results will take care of themselves. And third, practice acceptance. No matter what happens, you will adapt, learn, and keep moving forward. At the end of the day, stress comes from attachment. But the moment you detach from outcomes and focus on your own effort, you gain instant freedom. Let go, trust the process, and watch how much lighter life feels. Number 4, use the power of deep breathing. Let's talk about one of the quickest and most effective ways to reduce stress: deep breathing. It sounds almost too simple, but when done correctly, it has an immediate impact on your body and mind. When stress hits, your breathing becomes shallow, your heart rate spikes, and your body goes into fight or flight mode. But the moment you take control of your breath, you send a powerful message to your brain: relax, you are in control. Here's the truth: your breath is the fastest way to reset your nervous system. When you slow down your breathing, you slow down your heart rate. Your muscles relax, your mind clears, and your emotions settle. This isn't just a theory, it's backed by science. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calmness and relaxation. It shifts you out of panic mode and into a state of balance. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca said, "The mind should sit calmly over the heart and let nothing disturb its tranquility." What does that mean? It means that when stress tries to take over, you must remind yourself that you are in control. And one of the fastest ways to regain that control is through your breath. Let me share a quick story. A woman I know, let's call her Emily, used to struggle with anxiety before important meetings. Her thoughts would race, her chest would tighten, and she felt like she was losing control. One day, she decided to try something different. Right before a big presentation, she took 5 slow, deep breaths. She inhaled for 4 seconds, held for 4, and exhaled for 6. Within moments, her heart rate slowed, her mind cleared, and she felt grounded. That simple breathing exercise became her secret weapon. From that day on, any time stress crept in, she knew exactly how to handle it. So how can you use this instantly? First, the next time you feel stressed, pause and take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds, then exhale slowly through your mouth. Second, practice the 4-4-6 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, and exhale for 6. This pattern signals to your brain that it's time to relax. And third, make deep breathing a habit. You don't have to wait for stress to hit. Practicing throughout the day keeps you in a calm, focused state. At the end of the day, your breath is always with you. No matter where you are or what's happening, you can use it to reset your mind and body instantly. Breathe deeply, take control, and let nothing disturb your tranquility. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a thank God and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 5. Reframe problems as challenges. Let's talk about one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make to instantly reduce stress. Reframing problems as challenges. Most of us see difficulties as something negative, something that shouldn't be happening. But here's the truth. Stressful situations are not punishments. They are tests of your character. Every obstacle you face is an opportunity to grow, to strengthen your mind, and to become more resilient. Here's the reality. Your perception of a problem determines your experience of it. If you see setbacks as unfair burdens, they will drain you. But if you see them as stepping stones, things meant to push you, teach you, and improve you, your stress transforms into motivation. It's all about perspective. The same event that makes one person collapse in frustration can make another rise in strength. The difference? Mindset. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about that. The very thing that seems to block you is actually showing you the path forward. Instead of resisting problems, you can embrace them as part of your journey. Let me share a quick story. A man I know, let's call him Daniel, was devastated when he lost his job. At first he saw it as a disaster. His mind flooded with stress. What will I do? How will I recover? But then he decided to shift his perspective. Instead of seeing it as the worst thing that had ever happened to him, he asked himself, what if this is actually the best thing? What if this was his chance to pursue something greater? Instead of panicking, he used the opportunity to start his own business, something he had always dreamed of but never had the time for. A year later, he wasn't just employed again, he was thriving on his own terms. The obstacle became the way. So how can you apply this instantly to reduce stress? First, whenever something stressful happens, pause and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Every challenge carries a lesson. Second, replace frustration with curiosity. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, how can I use this? And third, remind yourself that resilience is built in difficult moments, not easy ones. The struggles you face today are shaping you into someone stronger for tomorrow. At the end of the day, stress comes from resisting challenges. But when you see problems as opportunities to grow, they stop feeling like problems at all. Shift your mindset, embrace the challenge, and let every obstacle become the way forward. Number 6. Take a step back from emotions. Let's talk about one of the quickest ways to reduce stress: learning to observe your emotions instead of becoming them. When something stressful happens, most people react instantly. A rude comment, a frustrating situation, or unexpected bad news can trigger an emotional spiral. But here's the truth: your emotions don't control you unless you let them. The moment you pause and step back, you regain your power. Here's the reality: stress doesn't come from events. It comes from your reaction to them. If someone insults you, does that force you to be angry? No. It's your judgment of their words that creates the anger. If something doesn't go your way, does that have to ruin your day? No. It's how you interpret the event that determines your stress level. The more control you have over your response, the less control stress has over you. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment of it." Think about that. It's not the event, it's how you perceive it. If you can change your perception, you can change how you feel. And when you do that, stress loses its grip on you. Let me share a quick story. A woman I know, let's call her Sarah, had a boss who constantly criticized her work. At first, she would take it personally, get defensive, and stress over every comment. But then she tried something different. She started observing her emotions instead of reacting to them. When her boss made a harsh remark, she didn't immediately respond. Instead, she paused, took a breath, and asked herself, "Is this really about me, or is it just his personality?" That simple shift changed everything. She stopped taking things so personally, and instead of reacting emotionally, she responded with clarity. Her stress levels dropped instantly. So how can you apply this right now? First, pause before reacting. The next time you feel an emotional surge, anger, frustration, anxiety, take a breath before responding. Second, observe your feelings instead of being consumed by them. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now and why? And third, remind yourself that you control your perception. You can choose to let go instead of getting caught in the emotional storm. If you believe this video can help others, give it a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content coming your way. Share your thoughts in the comments. I will definitely reply. At the end of the day, stress thrives on impulsive reactions. But when you step back and observe, you remain in control. Master your emotions, and you master your stress. Number 7. Silence the inner critic. Let's talk about one of the biggest sources of stress, your own thoughts. We all have that voice inside our heads, the one that constantly judges, doubts, and criticizes. Why did I say that? I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. The truth is, the harshest source of stress often comes from within. And until you learn to silence that inner critic, no amount of external peace will ever feel like enough. Here's the reality. If you wouldn't speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself, then your self-talk needs to change. Imagine if someone followed you around all day, pointing out every mistake, exaggerating every flaw, and reminding you of every failure. You wouldn't tolerate that, right? So why tolerate it from yourself? The way you speak to yourself matters. If your mind is filled with negativity, stress becomes a constant companion. But the moment you shift to kindness and self-compassion, stress begins to lose its grip. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus said, "He who tortures himself suffers worse than from any external enemy." Think about that. Most of the things we stress over aren't even coming from the outside world. They're coming from the way we think about ourselves, the negative stories we tell ourselves, the unrealistic expectations, the self-doubt. But here's the good news. You can choose to rewrite that narrative. Let me share a quick story. A man I know, let's call him James, was his own worst critic. Every time something went wrong, he blamed himself. If he made a mistake at work, he would obsess over it for days, telling himself he wasn't good enough. His stress levels were through the roof. Then he tried a simple shift. He started speaking to himself like he would a close friend. Instead of saying, "I'm such an idiot," he would say, "I made a mistake, and that's okay." Instead of thinking, "I'll never succeed," he would remind himself, "I've overcome challenges before, I can do it again." And guess what? His stress and self-doubt began to fade. By treating himself with kindness instead of criticism, he freed himself from unnecessary suffering. So how can you apply this instantly? First, catch your inner critic in action. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself. Second, ask yourself, would I say this to a friend? If not, change the way you phrase it. And third, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that mistakes don't define you. Growth takes time, and you deserve the same kindness you give to others. At the end of the day, your mind can be your biggest enemy or your greatest ally. Silence the inner critic. Replace judgment with self-compassion, and watch how much lighter life becomes. Because the less you fight against yourself, the less stress will have a place to live. Number 8. Embrace the present moment. Let's talk about one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to reduce stress: living in the present moment. Think about it. Most of your stress isn't coming from what's happening right now. It's coming from either regrets about the past or worries about the future. You replay past mistakes, overanalyze things you can't change, or stress about things that haven't even happened yet. But here's the truth. The past is unchangeable, and the future is uncertain. Only the present moment is real. And the more you anchor yourself in it, the more peace you create for yourself. Here's the reality. Stress pulls you out of the now. When you're lost in regret or fear, you're missing what's happening right in front of you. You could be sitting in a beautiful place, sharing a moment with someone you love, or simply having a peaceful moment alone. But if your mind is elsewhere, you're not truly there. The key to reducing stress isn't escaping life. It's fully experiencing it right now. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not dwell on the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." Think about that. The Stoics understood that suffering comes from resisting reality. But when you fully engage in this moment, without distractions, without regrets, without future anxieties, you step into a place of clarity, strength, and peace. Let me share a quick story. A woman I know, let's call her Rachel, used to struggle with overthinking. If something went wrong at work, she would dwell on it for days, replaying conversations in her mind. If she had an important event coming up, she would stress about all the things that might go wrong. Her mind was constantly stuck in the past or fast-forwarded to the future, and she rarely felt peace. Then she discovered the power of presence. She started practicing a simple habit. Every time she caught herself lost in thought, she would take a deep breath and ask herself, "What's happening right now?" She focused on what she could see, hear, and feel in the moment. And guess what? Her stress melted away. She realized that right now, in the present, things were okay. And that's all that truly mattered. So how can you apply this instantly? First, Catch yourself when your mind drifts to the past or future. Ask yourself, is this happening now? If not, bring your attention back. Second, use your senses to stay grounded. Notice what you can see, hear, and feel in the moment. And third, remind yourself that peace is found in the present, not in regrets or worries. At the end of the day, the past is a memory, and the future is unknown. But this moment, right here, right now, is yours to live. Embrace it fully, and stress will have nowhere to exist. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights.